Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Unity tutorial. In this one we're going to be continuing on with the FPS tutorial series, as you can probably tell already. We last had item pickups, if I remember correctly, like we were picking up these ammo boxes and we were then, being able to shoot. So ignoring the UI at the bottom left, because that's what we're going to get into this video, you would be able to shoot. Oh, I've got no ammo for this pistol. Then you would walk over the light ammo, and now you can shoot this pistol and you can hold it down because it's semi-automatic, and then because it's automatic, sorry. And then we pick up this, it's medium ammo, so we haven't got anything left for it anyway. And if we pick up this, it's heavy ammo, and we can't shoot with this either. So if we switch to our sniper, which obviously looks nothing like it at all, but it looks different, that's the point for now, we can then shoot with this and it deals bonus damage and so on. So we've got a few systems working now. Obviously it needs to be polished up, but that's for later down the line. What we want to add in now is we want to add weapon pickups, just like we have ammo pickups. And then with the weapon pickups, we want to be able to scroll maybe or press number keys to switch between the weapons we've got equipped. So that's what we're going to start on today. I don't necessarily have a goal of how much to get through, because this is just kind of a linear series where we keep adding new stuff. So this specific part about picking up weapons and storing it could span over a few videos. We're going to get as much as we can in maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So we want to definitely have, let's go with what we were doing last time with the ammo pickups, and we'll just start with weapon pickups this video. But before that, I'm going to thank my Patreons. So if I drag it up, thanks to Michael, Norwegian Viking, Paul Robinson, Fullbaum, and Wesley for their donations this month on Patreon. If anyone else would like to or is able to help out, then it'd be greatly appreciated. Link in the description below. But apart from that, let's get into it. So what have we got? Well, we've got a pretty redundant UI. If we go back here, canvas, we've got this ammo text, which used to work when we had one type of ammo, but then obviously in FPSs and in games like that, you have different ammo for different types of weapons. So this isn't linked to anything right now. We do have a script sitting on our manager for the UI, for the ammunition. But the problem is, if I get this text, it basically is commented out because we don't actually have just one type of text anymore. So the way I'm going to redo this is, instead of just having ammo, we'll have a little hotbar of our current weapons, and depending on which weapon is in what slot, it'll have a little number next to it saying how many shots you've got left of that weapon, so that you can easily see, for pistol I've got 50, if they had two pistols it would say 50 on both because they share the same type of ammo, rather than having like a corner of the screen to say ammo. So first step is to delete that, basically. So we don't need that text on there. We don't need that function that I got rid of, and that means we can't call the update count. We don't need to, so that helps that tidy that up a little bit. Don't need to reference UI in here anymore, and let's just let that compile and see if we need to change anything anywhere else. I don't think we were referencing it anywhere else. Nope, it's good. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now we can delete that text. Actually, we don't even need a canvas, to be honest, for now. I might leave the canvas there because we'll most definitely use it. So yeah, now we don't need a graphic raycaster, because graphic raycasters are for clicking on the UI, and currently we don't have anything to click on the UI. Canvas scaler, yeah, that's fine. Okay, first things first, let's go to our ammo pickup. So if we go to scene 1, where our stuff is, you'll notice how, I've put it into folders, by the way. I've not done any work, I've just folded everything so we know where stuff is. We've got this ammo pickup script where we have the amount and the type of ammo. So that's simple, that works. We might change that eventually. Let me just clean up some of these scripts. So currently how it works is, when we enter it, when the player touches it, it checks, well, when something touches it, it checks, is it the player? And if it is, add it to the player's ammunition, which is okay. But the problem is we don't want to keep coding new systems like this every time we want to add a new thing to pick up. So obviously we might want to have weapons to pick up, and then later on we'll have grenades. And we don't want our grenades going into our gun ammo, we don't want our ammo going to our guns. We need these separate systems, but they all work very similarly. So in FPSs, you tend to pick things up by looking at them, though ammo sometimes works by, walking on it. So what we can do is we can create a class. So this is the class which handles ammo specifically. So it's fine having an ammunition pickup script, and it's okay being a mono behavior, but we could have an interface, I think we've used an interface for something else, unless, let's see. It's been a while. Yeah, so we've used that for damageable. Anything that's damageable has that. We might want anything that's like pick-upable or like acquirable or lootable or whatever. So let's go ahead and make that. So we'll create a new C# script called I for interface, and then lootable for things that you can pick up. And things that you pick up will have, we'll make ammo, we'll make it so you have to press E to pick them up, because then we can preview what we're picking up. So anything, first of all, it's not a class, it's an interface, so we'll replace that. And it doesn't derive from mono behavior, it's just its own interface. And we don't need any of these using statements. Let me zoom in a bit. So as with interfaces that I've covered plenty of times before, we want to declare what functions anything that's lootable needs to have. So I have used this kind of system with my raycasting interaction system. A few videos back I've done this. So it's very similar, but this is going to be, well actually yeah, I'm going to be implementing that same system now that I think about it. So that's actually quite handy. If you've already seen that, then you'll understand this, but I'm still going to re-explain it a bit. So we want a function that's void, doesn't return anything. So like on enter loot. So that's going to get called when we like step on, sorry, no, this is, we're doing raycasting. So on look, on interact, and then on, I'll call it on start and on end. I feel like that's easier rather than sitting here thinking about names. I didn't mean to press the build, it doesn't matter. Okay, so everything that's lootable has a start, an interact, and an end. So even then you could put like on start look and on end look, just to make it more obvious, you know, so anyone knows what that means. And now we've made that, we can just close it basically, and we can now go across to our ammunition pickup and tell it, comma, I lootable. And now that it's lootable, it says, hey, you need to have these functions. So we'll say okay, and here they all are. So let's we'll keep that for now while I just rearrange everything. So we'll put the on start at the top, and then on interact, and on end look. So all we want here, this is the interact part, so let's just cut this out. Let's get this function gone. So what does an ammunition thing do when you pick it up? Well, when you interact with it, you know, you add the ammunition and destroy it. When you start, for now we'll just put a comment here for later, so we'll just say like show tool tip UI and hide. Tooltip UI. Okay, we don't have to do those yet, but we need to have them for this interface to, you know, allow us to compile. We need to still have the functions. Don't necessarily have to have code in them, but you need to have them. And now what we can do is we can go back to our player. So just let that compile properly. And when it has done, if we go to our player, we'll need to write a script on him for the, well, we have to do it on the camera actually, because the camera is where the raycasting will come from. So we're going to write it separately to the controller because it does a different job. You know, it's better to split the scripts up. So we'll say player camera raycasting. Make a new script. And just give that a second. I think it's compiled. Alright. Might as well go check that in our scripts folder. I can always sort out the folders later, so that's fine. And let's go scripts and player camera raycasting. So for a raycasting system like this, we're going to need to store something that's lootable. We'll need a variable for that, because when we look at something, we want to call onLook, but we don't want to call onLook again when we are still looking at it in the second frame. We want to store what we're looking at, and then we can sorry, I'm getting my throat again. We'll store what we're looking at, and then when we press E or whatever key we want to interact with the item to pick it up, we can then check, are we currently storing something that's lootable, and if we are, then loot it or let it handle what it's going to do. because obviously this system will be generic. Once we've coded this script here, we'll probably never need to change it, or very, very rarely. When we add new things that are lootable, we'll just make their own script and then attach the lootable interface on, just like we've done on ammunition pickup, and then we can make gun pickup, like grenade, whatever we want, right? We can do on anything, which is quite handy. So what we're going to need now is we're going to need a private, so we're going to need to store something that's lootable. So private I lootable. Current target. I'm going to stick with the way that I did it for my video a few days ago. So if you've seen that, as I said, then you could just implement this yourself. Try and do it from memory if possible. But I'm going to stick doing that method because it's a good method in my opinion. So what do we want to do? Well, in our update function, so in update, we want to do the raycasting every frame to see if we're looking at something. So I'll just put, you know, like handle raycast. And then we can, of course, say private void handle raycast. It's good to take stuff out of the update function just in case we do eventually add more code in here. We can add other functions without cluttering up the update function. So as with any raycasting, we need to store data on what we hit, which is with a raycast hit struct. So we'll just call that what I hit. And then with that, we need to do an actual raycast to store the data in that we get back. So ray, and our ray is equal to, and then we want to, we don't actually need to make a ray variable in this because we are the camera that we're raycasting from. So we can actually just straight up say if physics.raycast, and as you see, there's 16 different parameters you can do here. We want to do the one, if I remember correctly, that starts off with where we are, so transform.position, that's where we're starting the raycast. We want to do it in our forward direction, so transform.forward, and we want to, any data we get back, we want to store into this variable, so out what I hit. And then, if I remember correctly, we can pass in the range now. So let me just put in like 10 for now and just see if that works, and then I can make it a variable. Sorry, there we go. Max distance, yeah. So what we can do at the top is we can make a variable, so float raycast range distance, put distance, and we can just use that instead. So we can tweak that now, it's handy. So what we'll do is I'll do the raycasts that we're on about, and then we'll be able to store that in this current target variable. So we'll just say I lootable is what I hit dot collider. So the thing we've hit, we're going to try and get an I lootable off it, and if we can, then it'll be great, and if we can't, then you know, then we've not found something. But if we're looking at ammo or a weapon, then we will have something there. So we need to first of all check if it's not null. So if lootable is not null. I'm going off my other videos reference so that you guys can follow along if you've already done it, because it'll be then very similar. It'll be basically the same, except with some slight changes to how we do the raycast, because my other video was from the camera static clicking in the scene with our cursor, but this is from an FPS point of view. So once we check if the lootable does not equal null, which means if we are looking at something that's lootable, we then need to check, is it the thing we're currently storing? So if lootable is equal to our current target, then return, because we don't want to do anything else. If we've got to this point, then it's fine. That just means, you know, we've already acknowledged that we've started looking at it and we're not doing anything else, so we can just stop. But what if the thing we're currently, like, what if it's not the same thing, but we're still storing something, right? Well, what if we have been, this is basically saying, what if we're already looking at something that's interactable or lootable, and then we start looking at something else that's lootable? Like, if a gun is behind another gun and we move to look at the other gun, what we want to do is we want to tell the first one, so current target dot end, right? We've stopped looking at that one now. Then we want to change what the current target is. The current target's the new one, so the lootable. And then we want to say current target, so the new one, dot start look. So this is the handling of ending the other one and starting the new one, okay? So we can do whatever code needs to happen on the end of the other one and starting on the new one. Else, so this will get called if we weren't already looking at something and we've just started looking at something. So if we now look at a gun and we've just been looking at the floor, then this bit will get called. So we can just set the current target to the lootable, and then current target dot on start look. There we go. So that's that bit. That's pretty simple. But now there are the cases in which we stop looking at things. You know, we just want to end. We don't want to set anything new. So what if the lootable is not null? Well, the thing about this raycast is, what if the raycast, let's go down to here. If the raycast returns false, that means we haven't, oops, I pressed insert. That means we haven't actually looked at anything, right? It means either we're looking at something but it's out of range, or we're just looking up in the sky or something. So in that case, we can just call the on end hover, so the current target dot on end hover, on end, and then we can set it to null because we're done with it now. But keep in mind, this, we can only do this if there is something that already exists there. We need to be storing something for it to actually end. So if current target does not equal null, then we do that. Because otherwise what will happen is we'll get an error if we're not looking at anything and we don't already have a current target. So that's the case. That's that case. And what if we're looking at something but iLootable is null? So we're looking at something but it's not lootable. Then we'd say else, and then we can say if, well, I mean, we could just make this an else if, actually. We're going to say else if. So if lootable does not equal null, I'll just do it as an else. So if lootable is null, then we'll check also if current target is not null. So the same thing, we're going to do the same thing as here, basically. And that should be it. Okay. Now, with this, what we can do is we can just write some test code. So we can just write like debug.log started looking at, let's do started looking at ammunition type. And then we can put stopped looking at ammunition type, and then if we interact, we'll then pick it up. So the last thing we need to do is actually do the picking up. So we'll say if we press, so get key down, if we press E, for example, because that's commonly for interaction, then we'll say also if current target is not null, we need to make sure we are currently looking at something, and if we are, current target.interact, which will then call this function. So now we've set up this system, this fluid system. So everything will check what we're looking at, and we'll handle all the cases of starting and stopping looking at things and setting it. And then when we press E, we can interact, but only if we're currently looking at something. So this is extracted away from the code on the pickup. So now I can make another type of pickup that does different code, and we don't have to tweak the raycasting system every time we add something new, which is very handy. So I'm going to press E. Wait, not press E, what am I about? Press play. Let me just make sure, if I go to the player camera, we've got the script on there, the distance, I don't know, make it 10. I will obviously tweak that, but we'll make it 10 for now. I don't know, 10's pretty big, we'll go for 7. And let's go try this. So if I go over this, remember it just pushes it now. But if you look at the console, I'm going to bring up now, yeah. So if I start looking at it, started looking at light, because it's light ammo. Stop looking at light, start looking at light. Go over here, started looking at medium, stop looking at medium, and so on. And then over here, same with heavy. Heavy. Stop, start, stop, start. And I'll go over here, I'll press E. Oh, now we get an error. What did I say this time? Okay, so the reason that happened is because ammunition manager is started from the preload scene, so we've got to start everything from there because that's where all the managers get started. So now, press E, and it says we stopped looking at it because we've picked it up now, so we can start shooting. So now, obviously that distance is far too big. Now over here, it doesn't count how. So this is like the range. Now we really want the range to be like here maybe. So if I just go to the player, we'll do some quick tweaking now. So the player camera, we want the range to be like 3 maybe. Oops. So to make sure that works, we'll say this isn't in range, this is in range here. I'd say this is fine. Okay, nice. So remember, was it 3 I put it as? We'll go and make that be a range of 3. Okay, so now we've got the whole interaction system. So I guess the next job is to make the gun pickup system. So I'll let this video go on for a bit more. We'll just quickly, I'll show you what I mean about using the interface for different uses. So if we go to the ammunition pickup script like this, we can now make a C# script called gun pickup. We're not going to do the whole inventory and storing of guns in this video. We'll do that in the next video. But we can very quickly just go comma I lootable and implement the interfaces. Get rid of this, and then now I don't like how it does this in alphabetical order rather than in the order that I've written them inside the interface, but it's fine. Okay, so we have got this script now. We just need to write what we do when we start looking. So maybe these will have a gun. And then we can just say, just like in the thing here, started looking at gun name, and then stop looking at gun name, and then here trying to pick up gun name, and then obviously in our next video, as I said, we'll then overwrite, or we'll change what the code of these functions does, so that we will then be able to pick up our guns and add them to a hotbar of guns. That's what the goal is. So I will now very quickly go to our prefabs, take this test pistol. Now that test pistol doesn't actually have any code on it, it's just a model, which is quite handy. So what I can do is I can just go and drop this on the floor. It's very, very small. You know, I could probably just size that up, maybe rotate it on its side. Whoops. So it's at like 90, whatever, it's fine. Let's just leave that there. And then this test pistol, we can then add a gun pickup script to it. The gun is like pistol, and we can probably, we want to tweak it a bit, so let me just put that down as an original thing called like pistol pickup. So this is different. This is pistol pickup. Pistol pickup. We can actually get rid of the box collider on its child. I don't know why I still have those on anyway. And we'll just make this box collider be the entire pistol, so that it's easy to pick it up. That looks about right. Minus 0.6. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's just so we can pick up the script, basically. Pick up the gun, sorry. We're not actually going to be able to shoot once we've picked this one up. And I've not put it on the ground or given it physics, but it's fine. Just the point is, if I go over here now and start looking at this, start looking at pistol, if I press E, trying to pick up pistol. So there we go. So now we can write our separate code for pistols and other guns. So I hope you like this video. Obviously it's quite a longish video, but we've got quite a lot to cover and we're making good progress. So I hope you stick around with the series. Those of you that have been watching it already, hello to any newcomers. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, it would mean a lot. If you haven't already joined our Discord server, then I'd highly recommend doing that too. Link in the description below. But apart from that, thanks for watching and goodbye.